I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments, the Saturday night special edition. Great to have you with us tonight. We've got a lot of stories to get to, a lot of things happening at Court TV. We've got trials coming up on Monday. George Floyd is just 23 days away. And today was sort of a verdict day. The impeachment trial, the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump has concluded. Let's take a look at the verdict.
The yeas are 57. The nays are 43. Two-thirds of the senators present not having voted guilty. The Senate judges that the respondent, Donald John Trump, former President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the article of impeachment. The presiding officer directs judgment to be entered in accordance with the judgment of the Senate as follows. The Senate, having tried Donald John Trump, former President of the United States, upon one article of impeachment exhibited against him by the House of Representatives, and two-thirds of the senators present not having found him guilty of the charge contained therein, it is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby acquitted of the charge in said article.
All right, so with that verdict, Donald Trump will not be removed from office. Oh, wait, he's already out of office. Okay, so nothing really changes, right? So he's still out of office and will remain out of office unless he runs for president again. So that was the verdict today. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae. Julia, yeah, the sentencing would have been interesting, right? Because we're going to do nothing. But anyway, let's get to what happened today, because it was actually a wild day. I mean, it started off like everything was kind of set, and then there was a change in plans, and then some meetings, negotiations, and then we got back on track.
This day today was a roller coaster. There was a point in the day today that we believe this might get suspended, and it might be weeks before this impeachment trial finished. That is what was on the table for part of the day. It started with the House impeachment managers calling for a witness. They wanted the Senate to approve them being able to depose a witness, a House Representative, Jamie Butler, who had put out a statement that she was not going to support, or she has not supported the president and supported this impeachment trial because of what she overheard during the siege, or what she heard from one of her colleagues. There was a lot of back and forth about that, about bringing her in to testify, about possibly the president saying that he wasn't concerned about the siege because these people were just upset about the election. That did not come in as a witness, but it did come in as a statement. So even though the defense said they wanted to bring in hundreds of witnesses if this one witness was allowed in, they were able to make an agreement, and they were able to wrap things up today, 57-43, with 7 Republicans joining the Democrats and 2 who had not previously joined the Democrats, Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana and Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina, breaking ranks with their party.
Okay, almost as close as the election, almost. The former president did speak after the verdict. I believe we have that video. We just got it in. Let's take a look.
President Trump just put out the following statement. I want to first thank my team of dedicated lawyers and others for their tireless work upholding justice and defending truth. My deepest thanks as well to all of the United States senators and members of Congress who stood proudly for the Constitution we all revere and for the sacred legal principles at the heart of our country. Our cherished constitutional republic was founded on the impartial rule of law, the indispensable safeguard for our liberties, our rights, and our freedoms. It is a sad commentary on our times that one political party in America is given a free pass to denigrate the rule of law, defame law enforcement, cheer mobs, excuse rioters, and transform justice into a tool of political vengeance and persecute, blacklist, cancel, and suppress all people and viewpoints with whom or which they disagree. I always have and always will be a champion for the unwavering rule of law, the heroes of law enforcement, and the right of Americans to peacefully and honorably debate the issues of the day without malice and without hate. This has been yet another phase of the greatest witch hunt in the history of our country. No president has ever gone through anything like it, and it continues because our opponents cannot forget the almost 75 million people the highest number ever for a sitting president who voted with us just a few short months ago. I also want to convey my gratitude to the millions of decent, hardworking, law-abiding, God and country-loving citizens who have bravely supported these important principles in these very difficult and challenging times. Our historic, patriotic, and beautiful movement to make America great again has only just begun. In the months ahead, I have much to share with you, and I look forward to continuing our incredible journey together to achieve American greatness for all of our people. There has never been anything like it. We have so much work ahead of us, and soon we will emerge with a vision for a bright, radiant, and limitless American future. Together, there's nothing we cannot accomplish. We remain one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And it's our responsibility to preserve this magnificent inheritance for our children and for generations of Americans to come. May God bless all of you. May God forever bless the United States of America. That's from President Trump, and I imagine you'll probably be hearing a lot more from him in the coming days. Thank you.
All right, there was the official statement that was not tweeted out because Twitter doesn't allow the former president on its platform anymore. So it's over now, right? The impeachment trial's over. There's no appeal of any of this, so I just want to make sure.
It is over as far as the Senate is concerned. You heard there, that was the former Trump aide Jason Miller giving that statement that came after the acquittal from the Senate. But that also, you can hear in that statement, the latter part, his intent to reach out and be there for his movement, that there are things that he is getting in place for the future. You talked about the sentencing that there won't be because of the acquittal and would not have been able to remove him from office, but disqualification is also off of the table. He will be able to run in 2024 if he chooses, and that is something that members of the Democrat Party and some of the Republican Party were concerned might be a reality if this ended in an acquittal, which it has.
Absolutely. And I mean, there were members of Congress who were quoted as saying we need to impeach him so he doesn't win again. Before this impeachment, that was when the first of the 4 impeachment papers were presented in Congress. I think it was the first time. But as we move forward now, the House managers who were unsuccessful in their bid to win this impeachment trial did speak afterwards. Let's take a listen.
The defendant, President Donald John Trump, was let off on a technicality. And that's essentially what you heard Mitch McConnell say, that they let him off on what they perceived, at least, to be a procedural issue, which was because of the constitutionality of the matter, they couldn't proceed to the substance. Doctrinal interpretation, both on the liberal side and the conservative side, strongly disagrees with that assessment, but they let him off on a technicality.
All right, I think that we're going to close it up. I just want to remind everybody that this was the most bipartisan impeachment in the history of the United States. It was the largest vote in the U.S. Senate ever to convict a president who's been impeached. And it was the most bipartisan conviction vote in the Senate that we've ever seen in a case of a presidential impeachment. But there's one other number to look out for if you listen carefully to what's being said now after the trial. There are 57 senators who voted to convict on the facts in the law. Now, add to that the number of senators who say they believe that Donald Trump was factually guilty, but that the Senate didn't have jurisdiction or there was some other constitutional issue. But just take the ones who say, we don't think that we could convict him because of this January exception. He was able to get away with it at the end of his term. If 10 or 15 or 20 of them say that, that means you've got a supermajority who are saying that the president actually is guilty of his crimes, which we think we have overwhelmingly and convincingly demonstrated to the American people. Thank you all very much.
Couple of things. First, Joaquin Castro really shocked me when he said the former president got off on a technicality, and then that technicality was the Constitution. That was a little surprising to hear that from a member of Congress. But Raskin there talking about, that the senators, I guess, came to their conclusions for different reasons.
And we heard that from Senator McConnell. These senators were able to speak after the acquittal. They were given 10 minutes apiece. They all did not speak, but we did hear first from Chuck Schumer and then from Mitch McConnell. And he said some very powerful things after having voted not guilty for the charge of incitement of insurrection. But he said, quote, that the leader of the free world cannot thunder conspiracy theories out to his supporters, and then that result in the unconscionable behavior of unconscionably behavior, sorry, trying to read my notes on this, but he called it the president morally responsible for the riot. And that's huge, that he is saying that even though I voted not guilty for the incitement of insurrection, I actually do believe that he is responsible for this insurrection, this siege, and how dangerous it was. So to have someone who is such a major voice in the Republican Party come out and say that immediately after an acquittal is why those House impeachment managers are saying that this is a technicality. They are still looking at the constitutionality that was argued on Tuesday on whether or not this impeachment trial can even go forward against a non-sitting president. And even though the simple majority was achieved and it moved forward, there are some Republicans who are slowly beginning to make their statement to say, we actually did believe he was guilty, but did not believe this was a constitutional process, so procedural and not on the merits.
Yeah, I listened to what McConnell said, and it was a little confusing at parts because at one point, talking about incitement, in a court of law, it probably would not have, you couldn't get a criminal conviction. But then saying that he would have voted for impeachment. So basically, he's making the same argument that Democrats are saying, that the Constitution doesn't apply in an impeachment trial, which to me was the issue all along. Whether it's the constitutional argument about the First Amendment and what is incitement, which was the actual charge. The charge, in the articles of impeachment, it was incitement. So the Supreme Court has told us exactly what incitement is, but the House managers argued that that has no bearing on an impeachment trial. And it seemed that McConnell somewhat agreed with that, which is fascinating because he's saying the Constitution doesn't apply there, but does apply on another part of it. So that's why I don't understand the way these senators think. And some are saying that the Constitution is a technicality. To me, that's the scariest thing that I heard all day long, was that the Constitution, which is the basis of everything, is somehow a technicality. No, maybe he's using an improper word. I don't know if he misspoke, but I can't imagine that the Constitution of the United States is a technicality in the eyes of the people who are running this country. That's just, to me, that's insane. But McConnell was kind of speaking out of both sides of his mouth there, and was inconsistent because he's relying on the Constitution. This can't go forward, but the Constitution doesn't apply to the charges, which is, what I thought it was all about the whole time. Anyhow, so is there anything next, or do they go back to work now?
They continue with the business of the Senate. There are investigations that are pending looking closer at Trump's actions. A lot of things have come out in this trial, especially with regards to election officials that were contacted during the period after the election was done, before the certification of the votes, when there were these calls made to different election officials. So we know that there are some investigations going on. Whether that yields anything, we'll also be paying attention to a lot of the people who have been arrested and are being charged in relation to the actual siege, the actual rioters who were there on the ground. Those arrests continue to happen. So we will see as this moves forward. But as far as this impeachment trial, there is no longer any next step when it comes to this process.
All right. Everything else will take place in criminal courtrooms where at least I understand the rules. For the most part.
It makes it a little easier.
Julia Janae, Court TV legal correspondent, thanks so much.
Thanks, Vinnie.